Have you ever wondered why your creativity feels blocked? Why some days your mind is empty, your ideas dry, your passion gone? Most people believe creativity is a rare gift, something only the talented are born with. But Earl Nightingale shattered that illusion with a single sentence. Creativity is a natural extension of our enthusiasm. Think about that. Your creativity doesn't come from talent. It comes from energy, from passion, from enthusiasm. And here's the shocking truth. If your creativity feels dead, it's not because you're not talented. It's because you've stopped feeding your enthusiasm. Stay until the very end, because in the next few minutes, we'll uncover why you've been blocking your own creativity and how to reignite your enthusiasm so ideas flow out of you effortlessly. Creativity, we romanticize it. We see it in artists painting masterpieces, entrepreneurs inventing billion-dollar companies, writers pouring out books that change the world. And when we look at them, we whisper to ourselves, they have something I don't. They were born with it. But Earl Nightingale exposed the truth. Creativity is a natural extension of our enthusiasm, which means creativity is not the rare spark of a chosen few. It is the natural flame that rises when you feel alive, passionate, engaged. And that changes everything. The death of creativity. Think about Ethan. Ethan was once a kid who loved to draw. Every notebook from school was filled with sketches, dragons, cities, superheroes, whatever his imagination could conjure. But somewhere along the way, life got louder. Work deadlines, bills, responsibilities. Now Ethan is 35, sitting in a grey cubicle under fluorescent lights. His desk is clean, his computer full of spreadsheets, and his notebooks blank. When asked what happened, he shrugs. I don't have time. I'm just not creative anymore. But the truth isn't that his creativity died. The truth is that his enthusiasm did. The illusion of talent. Maya tells a similar story. She always dreamed of writing a novel. As a teenager, she filled journals with poetry. Her friends told her she had a gift, but today she scrolls endlessly on her phone. She tells herself, if I was really talented, I'd be inspired. But I just don't have it. Maya believes creativity abandoned her, but creativity doesn't vanish, it waits. What vanished was her enthusiasm. Her energy is drained, and without enthusiasm, creativity has nothing to extend from. Why enthusiasm matters. Earl Nightingale's insight is simple but radical. Enthusiasm is the soil. Creativity is the plant. Without enthusiasm, creativity withers. With enthusiasm, creativity grows naturally. Think of a child. Give them a box, and they'll turn it into a castle, a spaceship, a race car. Their creativity explodes, not because of talent, but because of enthusiasm. They are curious, excited, alive. But somewhere along the path to adulthood, enthusiasm is crushed under responsibility, fear, and monotony. And when enthusiasm dies, creativity suffocates. The hidden enemy. But here's the deeper problem. If creativity is so natural, why do so many adults feel stuck, uninspired, blocked? Because enthusiasm has enemies. Routine kills it. The same day repeated endlessly suffocates energy. Fear kills it. The thought, what if I fail, paralyzes expression. Comparison kills it. Looking at others' success convinces you that you're not enough. Fatigue kills it. A tired body cannot produce an enthusiastic mind. And most people spend their lives feeding these enemies instead of feeding their enthusiasm. Ethan's prison. Ethan lives in routine. Wake up, commute, work, commute again, Netflix, sleep, repeat. His soul whispers, draw again. But his routine shouts louder, you're tired, just survive. And so enthusiasm never comes. And without enthusiasm, creativity never flows. He blames talent. He blames time. But the real prison is his lack of enthusiasm. Maya's fear. Maya still thinks about her novel. But every time she opens a blank page, fear whispers, "What if it's terrible? What if you're not good enough?" Fear suffocates enthusiasm, and without enthusiasm the page stays blank. Maya tells herself, "I just don't feel inspired." But inspiration doesn't come before enthusiasm. It comes after your story. And maybe this is your story too. You had passions once, hobbies, dreams, a spark that made you feel alive. But somewhere along the way, enthusiasm slipped away. Now your creativity feels blocked, not because you lost talent, but because you stopped feeding the energy that fuels creativity. The cycle of burnout. This is the silent cycle many live in. 1. They chase goals believing results will spark creativity. 2. They push harder, grinding without enthusiasm. 3. The grind burns them out. 4. Burnout kills enthusiasm. 5. Without enthusiasm, creativity disappears, and the cycle repeats. But Earl Nightingale flips the script. He says, don't chase creativity. Don't chase results, chase enthusiasm, because when you do, creativity arrives as the natural extension. The paradox of enthusiasm. But here's the paradox that hooks us deeper. If creativity is born of enthusiasm, why is enthusiasm so fragile? Why does it vanish in adulthood? Why do responsibilities and routines crush it so easily? Why do some people seem endlessly enthusiastic while others drag themselves through life exhausted? This is the mystery we must solve. Because until we understand how to protect and grow enthusiasm, creativity will always feel like a blocked river, the edge of revelation. Ethan sits in his cubicle. Maya stares at her blank page. You stare at your own unfinished dreams. The problem isn't that you lack creativity. The problem is that you've been taught to ignore enthusiasm. But what if enthusiasm could be rebuilt? What if creativity was not something you forced, but something that overflowed naturally once you reconnected with what excites you? That is the path ahead. And in the next part of this journey, we will uncover the mechanism, how enthusiasm fuels creativity, and how you can reignite yours. Today, the spark that ignites the flame. Enthusiasm is not a luxury. It is the spark. Creativity is the flame. Without the spark, nothing catches. No matter how much wood you pile, talent, resources, opportunities, without enthusiasm, the fire never starts. But once the spark of enthusiasm is lit, creativity flows naturally. You don't force ideas, they pour out of you. Think of the last time you were truly enthusiastic. Maybe you discovered a new book. Maybe you started a new project. Maybe you fell in love. In that state, your mind raced with ideas. Solutions appeared effortlessly. Hours felt like minutes. That was creativity riding on the back of enthusiasm. Ethan's spark. Ethan discovered this truth by accident. One night, exhausted from spreadsheets, he picked up a guitar collecting dust in his closet. At first, his fingers stumbled, but soon, a song he used to play as a teenager came back to him. His chest warmed, his energy lifted, and suddenly, ideas. Not just music, work ideas, life ideas. A dozen thoughts he had been stuck on for weeks flowed freely. Why? Because enthusiasm returned. And when enthusiasm returned, creativity followed like a river breaking a dam. Maya's spark. Maya's spark came in a different way. She stopped chasing the perfect novel and simply wrote one page of a silly story for fun. It wasn't serious, it wasn't for publication, but it was enthusiastic. And once the joy returned, so did the words. She laughed as she wrote, and by the end of the night, she had more pages than she had managed in months of forcing herself. Her creativity wasn't dead. It was just waiting for enthusiasm to open the door. The science of enthusiasm. Modern psychology explains what Earl Nightingale intuited. Enthusiasm is a high-energy emotional state that releases dopamine. Dopamine doesn't just make you feel good, it enhances focus, pattern recognition, and problem-solving. In other words, when you're enthusiastic, your brain literally becomes more creative. This is why enthusiasm is not optional for creativity. It is the mechanism itself, the enemies of enthusiasm. But if it's so powerful, why does enthusiasm fade? Because it is fragile. It has enemies that slowly suffocate it. Routine, repeating lifeless tasks without variety. Comparison, measuring yourself against others until joy drains away. Fear, the terror of failing, being judged, looking foolish. Fatigue, exhaustion that kills curiosity and play. And when enthusiasm dies, creativity doesn't fight back. It simply waits in silence. Reigniting enthusiasm. The good news? Enthusiasm can be reignited. Earl Nightingale believed in living with intensity, curiosity, and engagement. And modern thinkers agree, enthusiasm is not found, it is built. Here are the mechanisms that rebuild it. 1. Curiosity over pressure. Stop demanding genius ideas. Start asking questions. Curiosity sparks enthusiasm. Enthusiasm sparks creativity. 2. Movement over stagnation. Energy feeds energy. Move your body, change your environment, break routine. Motion creates emotion. 3. Small sparks over big fires. You don't need a breakthrough to feel alive. Play a song, sketch a doodle, write a silly paragraph. Small sparks reignite big flames. 4. Environment design. Surround yourself with things that excite you. Books, music, people, places. Environment is the invisible fuel of enthusiasm. 5. Gratitude practice. Gratitude amplifies joy. Joy amplifies enthusiasm, and enthusiasm unlocks creativity. Ethan reignites. Ethan started small. Instead of demanding that he be creative, he committed to sketching one silly doodle every night before bed. At first it felt pointless, but soon the act of drawing woke up something inside him. His enthusiasm returned, and within weeks, creativity flowed back into his work, his relationships, his life. Maya reignites. Maya changed her environment. Instead of writing at the same cluttered desk, she went to a cafe filled with light and music. The change sparked joy. She felt enthusiastic just being there, and in that energy, her creativity bloomed. Your spark. And now, the question turns to you. What enthusiasm have you been ignoring? What activity once made you feel alive, but you abandoned in the noise of adulthood? What curiosity have you silenced because you feared it wasn't practical, profitable, or perfect? Because creativity is not gone. It's waiting. And the key is simple: rebuild enthusiasm. Build the loop forward. But here comes the deeper question, the one that still holds us. If enthusiasm is so simple to rebuild, why don't we do it? Why do we keep choosing monotony over curiosity, fear over play, fatigue over energy? Why do we sabotage the very spark that gives us life? The answer lies in the trials we must face, the resistance, the doubt, the old self that whispers, stay safe, don't risk, don't change. And those trials are where we go next. Enthusiasm is the spark. Creativity is the flame. But every spark meets resistance, every flame faces the wind. And if you want to live with enthusiasm, you must first survive its trials. Trial 1, the grip of routine. Ethan woke up again to the same grey walls, the same alarm, the same commute. His enthusiasm from last night's doodles faded as the monotony of routine pressed in. This is the first trial, routine. Routine suffocates enthusiasm because it convinces you that today will be exactly like yesterday, and tomorrow will be no different. Your creative spark whispers, break free, try something new, But routine replies, stay safe, stay predictable. Solution. Earl Nightingale would say, inject variety, break patterns deliberately, walk a new route, rearrange your desk, ask a new question. Even tiny acts of novelty can break the grip of routine and reignite enthusiasm. Trial 2. The Whisper of Fear. Maya sat at her cafe, pen in hand, enthusiasm flickering. But fear whispered, what if it's terrible? What if you waste your time? What if people laugh? This is the second trial. Fear. Fear kills enthusiasm because it makes the cost of expression seem greater than the reward. And when fear wins, enthusiasm retreats. Solution. Replace fear with play. Stop writing for the critic. Write for fun. Stop drawing for perfection. Draw for joy. Fear cannot survive where play is present. Trial 3. The Poison of Comparison. Later, Maya opened her phone. Social media overflowed with flawless novels, perfect art, brilliant ideas. She compared her messy drafts to their polished works. Her enthusiasm collapsed. This is the third trial, comparison. Comparison doesn't inspire, it paralyzes. It tricks you into believing enthusiasm is worthless unless it produces results equal to others. Solution: narrow your focus. Compare only to who you were yesterday. Enthusiasm is not about winning against others, it's about expanding yourself. Trial 4. The Weight of Fatigue. Ethan sat at his desk late at night, eyes heavy. He wanted to sketch. He wanted to feel the spark again. But his body was exhausted. This is the fourth trial, fatigue. A tired body cannot sustain an enthusiastic mind. Fatigue drains the energy that enthusiasm needs to rise. Solution: protect your energy. Rest, move, fuel your body well. Enthusiasm thrives in vitality. A weak body cannot carry a fiery spirit. Trial 5. The Shadow of Doubt. And then comes the most dangerous trial of all, doubt. Ethan thought, what's the point? A doodle won't change my life. Maya thought, one page won't make me a writer. You may think, a spark of enthusiasm can't really unlock my creativity. This is the fifth trial, doubt. Doubt whispers that enthusiasm is childish, that you should be serious, that you should focus on what matters. But here's the paradox. Enthusiasm is what matters, because it is the root of all creativity, all growth, all joy. Solution: collect proof. Every doodle is evidence you are creative. Every page is proof you are a writer. Every spark is proof the flame still burns. Doubt dies in the presence of evidence, the practices of resilient enthusiasm. Earl Nightingale believed enthusiasm is not luck, it is discipline. And like all discipline, it can be protected with practice. 1. Guard your inputs. Limit negative news and draining conversations. Enthusiasm thrives on inspiration. 2. Feed curiosity. Daily, ask questions. Explore topics outside your field. Curiosity is enthusiasm in motion. 3. Play without purpose. Not every action must be productive. Play rekindles joy, and joy fuels creativity. 4. Celebrate small sparks. Don't wait for breakthroughs. Honor small wins. A single spark can grow into a fire. 5. Surround yourself with enthusiastic people. Enthusiasm is contagious. Community fuels the flame. Ethan's trial. Ethan nearly gave up. Fatigue, doubt, and routine pressed in, but one night he reminded himself, just one doodle, just 2 minutes. And when he did, the spark returned, tiny but alive. It wasn't talent that saved him, it was resilience in enthusiasm. Maya's trial. Maya almost deleted her drafts, poisoned by comparison, but instead she whispered, "This page is mine. This joy is mine." She wrote not to be perfect, but to play, and as she played, the words flowed again. Her enthusiasm was fragile, but it survived. And because it survived, her creativity grew. your trial. And what about you? You will face routine. Fear will whisper. Comparison will drain you. Fatigue will weigh you down. Doubt will question your path. The question is not whether these trials come. They will. The question is whether you let them extinguish the spark, or whether you protect it until the flame grows. Because creativity is not the absence of trials. It is the victory of enthusiasm over them. The cliffhanger. But here lies the final test, the one that separates those who live inspired from those who die with their spark buried. It is not enough to protect enthusiasm. You must learn to let it consume you, to let enthusiasm overflow until creativity is not something you do, but something you are. That is the climax we now enter. Every story has its peak. Every flame has its moment of roaring fire. And for you, for Ethan, for Maya, this is that moment. Because the truth is this: creativity is not something you chase. It is something that flows when enthusiasm overflows. And enthusiasm is not just a feeling. It is a way of living. Ethan's breakthrough. Ethan no longer waits for motivation to strike. He doesn't force himself to draw. He doesn't even label it practice. He simply lives with enthusiasm. He sees shapes in the clouds and sketches them. He hears a song on the radio and writes down new lyrics. He notices colors on the street and lets them inspire designs. Creativity is no longer a task. It is an extension of his daily enthusiasm. And with this shift, Ethan realizes something profound. He was never talentless. He was only joyless. And once joy returned, talent bloomed naturally. Maya's breakthrough. Maya no longer dreads the blank page. Now she sits with her coffee and begins not with fear, but with excitement. Every word, every sentence is play. She doesn't compare. She doesn't judge. She lets enthusiasm lead her hand. And as she does, creativity flows so effortlessly, it feels as if the story is writing itself. Her friends notice the change. "You're glowing," they say. But Maya knows the secret. It's not glow, it's enthusiasm. And creativity is the natural extension, the universal breakthrough. And now it's your turn. Think of the dreams you've buried, the hobbies you've abandoned, the ideas you've dismissed. They are not gone. They are waiting. And they are waiting for one thing: for you to live with enthusiasm again. Because creativity is not a gift you lost. It is the natural extension of the enthusiasm you stopped feeding. When enthusiasm becomes identity. Here lies the climax. When enthusiasm stops being an activity and becomes an identity. It is no longer, "I am trying to be creative." It is, "I live enthusiastically and creativity is inevitable." When you greet the day with energy, creativity meets you. When you explore with curiosity, creativity follows. When you act with joy, creativity grows naturally. Creativity is not what you do. Creativity is what you become when enthusiasm leads the way. The death of the old self. The old Ethan, the grey cubicle dweller, has died. The old Maya, the fearful, comparing writer, has died. And your old self, the one who believed creativity was lost, must die too, because that self was built on fear, routine, and doubt. The new self, the enthusiastic self, lives. And when enthusiasm lives, creativity cannot help but flow. The overflow. This is the beauty of enthusiasm. Once it overflows, it touches everything. You bring enthusiasm to work, and suddenly problems have solutions. You bring enthusiasm to relationships, and suddenly love feels alive again. You bring enthusiasm to challenges, and suddenly obstacles look like opportunities. Creativity is not limited to art. Creativity is problem solving. Creativity is innovation. Creativity is life lived fully. And when enthusiasm is your way of being, creativity is your way of living your moment. So now, you stand at the same threshold Ethan and Maya did. You can stay in routine, fear, comparison, fatigue, and doubt. And if you do, your spark will remain buried. Or you can choose enthusiasm. You can choose to feed it, protect it, nurture it until it consumes you. And when you do, creativity will be unavoidable. Ideas will flow, solutions will appear, life will open, the benediction. Earl Nightingale's words are no longer abstract. They are alive. Creativity is a natural extension of our enthusiasm. So the question is not, am I creative? The question is, am I living with enthusiasm? Because once you do, creativity is inevitable. It is the flame that cannot be contained. Enthusiasm is the spark, creativity is the flame, and today the fire is yours. If you've made it this far, you've already proven something rare. You didn't just watch. You walked with Ethan, with Maya, with yourself. You saw the death of the old self and the rebirth of enthusiasm. That means you're ready, but insight without action fades. If you want to seal this moment, turn it into a ritual. First, press like, not as a button, but as a spark. Every click is your way of saying, I choose enthusiasm over routine. I choose energy over fear. Second, hit subscribe. Not as an algorithm trick, but as a commitment to feed your fire. Each video here is not content, it's fuel. And by subscribing, you're designing an environment that keeps your enthusiasm alive. Third, and most important, go to the comments and write these words. Enthusiasm is my spark. Write it as a declaration. Let your mind feel the imprint of it. Because every word you write is evidence, a vote for the identity you are building. And if you dare, share one small act of enthusiasm you'll commit to today. A doodle, a note, a walk, a laugh. Remember Earl Nightingale's truth. Creativity is a natural extension of our enthusiasm. So let this be your moment. Seal it, claim it, live it. The spark is in your hands. What you do now decides whether it dies in silence or grows into the flame that lights your life.